Aggony1Pain1Achilles, Boii, Rush4in, Sparta, round of 16. So it's Boii versus Sparta, and I think this is a very interesting matchup. Boii actually have one of the strongest rush army compositions in the game. The Fierce Swords are really good mid-tier sword, and Axe Warriors behind them, really good flanking force, and they can really just kind of run at you and completely overpower you. I like Rush4in's decision this game to pick Pyramids. A flat map is going to be really nice because I feel like the only way for Sparta to get a good outcome out of this battle is to get some good skirmishing done with the Cretan archers and get some good flanking shots with some of the Tarentine cav that he has on his flanks. And I don't think that Rush4in should take a melee engagement at the beginning of this battle. I think that's going to be a mistake because, I mean, if we look at Achilles' main line, he has, I believe, 4 Axe Warriors, a bunch of Fierce Swords, and an Oathsworn. And if Rush4in takes a melee engagement too early, then I think he's going to have kind of the same result that Jankadoodle had versus him when Rush4in was Swaby. He needs to get some skirmishing done with the Cretans, and I think they're going to be the key to this battle, is making sure that he gets a lot of good shots off on the general or enemy melee line. And I think if he takes an engagement too early, he's going to be in trouble. Of course, Spartan hoplites can stay in melee combat for a long time with their phalanx formation from the front. They can be very, very good. We'll see how this engagement goes. It looks like the Levy of Freemen are going to come up the middle here and engage the front line of the Spartan hoplites. I think it's interesting that Achilles took that engagement. Again, they're just a throwaway spear unit, and he doesn't really have any cavalry to worry about, but I did think it was weird that he ran them right onto the front of the hoplites. But all across the line, he's already engaged the middle here, and I like what Rush4in's doing here. He's targeting the Oathsworn. If he can snipe the general early on in this battle, I think he's going to be in really good shape, and Achilles is actually going to turn his flank and get shredded by these Cretan archers. So that's good use of archers from the Rush4in. It looks like the heavy horse is coming in on the flank though, and over on this side, I think this engagement is already going really well for Achilles. He's kind of overpowering the Parayoki spears on this flank, and they're not going to be able to deal with Axe Warriors at all. And look at these Axe Warriors are going to get a perfect flanking charge off. Get right in the back of these Parayoki spears and charge in the rear of them. So this flank is already crumbling a little bit. Main line seems to be holding for Rush4in so far, but over on this flank, the heavy horse have gotten around that flank as well, and some heavy horse here getting targeted by the archers. Good use of the archers there to turn around and kill that cavalry. That's very important. Make sure that you don't get hammer and anviled. And the heavy horse are taking a lot of damage here. They're going to rout quickly, but main line seems to be going relatively evenly, but the Boii have way more numbers there, so I think eventually they're going to be able to cut through that relatively easily. But where I think this battle is really turning right now is over on the flank. Achilles has done a really good job of just kind of overpowering those Parayoki hoplites, and there wasn't really a lot of support there because Sparta didn't bring very much cavalry. So they're taking a lot of losses here, and I think this whole flank is going to break very soon as we get to see some sword killing animations with axes. That's always great. See someone get stabbed in the face with the blunt end of an axe. That's funny. But yeah, so that engagement has gone really well. Look at that. It's 3 or 4 just free units over there that are going to quickly be able to wrap around and get into the rear of this army if Achilles does it. He has a really good flanking charge with his heavy horse into the back of the Royal Spartans and in the back of the general. If Rush4in loses his general here, he's going to be in really bad shape. Of course, they have very high armor and they're in phalanx formation, so not going to take a ridiculous amount of losses from a heavy horse charge, but they are surrounded, and that's not ideal. As the rest of these swords and axe warriors come in from the flank here, I think this is going to be very hard. The balance bar is already shifting in the favor of Boii, and again, Achilles has already won the right flank as well, so a lot of these swords are now going to collapse into the center here, get some flanking charges off, and probably cause some chain routing here on the Spartan main line. Yeah, these Spartan hoplites are not going to be able to last for very long. They're winded, attacked in the rear. Some other sword followers with 100 kills over here on this flank. Gonna be probably not be able to beat those Royal Spartans straight up, but the main line has already started to falter. A lot of these units, the Spartan hoplites, are down to their last legs and engaged with Oathsworn and Fierce Swords. They're really not going to be able to stay in combat for very much longer. Boii has a very formidable rush composition. I think with these Axe Warriors, all these mid-tier swords that can beat Spartan Hoplites one-on-one in melee combat or simply surround them, I think this was a really good build from Achilles. And I think Rush4in needed to do more skirmishing with the Cretan Archers. They really didn't make the impact that he needed to, and I think what's happened here is a lot like what happened to Jankadoodle in that spectator battle I posted first from the tournament. The Swaby build in that battle was too much for the Athenian skirmishing, and there wasn't a lot of kiting that got done there, and there wasn't a lot of kiting that got done here either. And I simply think Rush4in took the melee engagement too early there. And as his line breaks, the Boii are going to clean up that battle. So, really quick battle actually, very, very fast. And that's kind of to be expected. Let's think about the army compositions here. Like I said, Boii have one of the strongest rush armies in the game. They can beat Rome if you outplay your opponent. I mean, they're not going to beat like Armored Legionnaires in melee combat. But besides Rome, there are very few factions in the game that can actually just win melee combat straight out with them. Normally, to counter a build like this that the Boii have, you have to have a cavalry or skirmish advantage. And certainly, Sparta didn't have a cavalry advantage in that battle because he only brought 4 Tarentine Cav, and there were 4 heavy horse on the side of Achilles. I think that with those 3 Cretan archers, that was the key to this battle. And again, it's easier said than done. Kiting is very difficult to do, especially on this patch when your opponent brings this many melee troops. Like, running away from that many units is very difficult. But I think you need to give your Cretans as much time to shoot as you can, or get them into a flanking position and start shooting into units from the rear. I think Rush4in's decision to start trying to snipe the general was a very good one. I did a lot of damage to that Osworn, actually. They're at half strength and only killed 44 men. It's really not much of an impact at all. But the Spartan Hoplites in general are not going to beat Fierce Swords one-on-one in melee, especially not when Axe Warriors are crashing in on the flanks and the rear. And I just don't think that Sparta was actually the best decision as a faction versus Boii. I don't think it's the best matchup for them. Normally, against cav-heavy factions or skirmish factions, I think Sparta's a really good pick because they have so many high armor hoplites, they have really good skirmishing, and they don't really have to worry about cavalry too much. Like something like Parthia doesn't really bother them because those cataphracts aren't going to cause a huge amount of damage to a unit like a Spartan hoplite if you're microing them correctly. But against a straight barbarian rush, a very textbook barbarian rush from Achilles here, I don't think they match up quite as well. And I think the map decision again was a good one. Pyramids is great. The flat map, you can kite your opponent better. A lot of the terrain maps where line of sight is wonky and there are a lot of forests and stuff, the skirmishing doesn't really help you at all. But on a map like Pyramids, you can get a lot of good skirmishing done, and I just don't think that Rush4in took a melee engagement that he should have taken. I think he should have waited a little bit longer, and I think that's honestly the same mistake that Jankadoodle did in the first round of the tournament. But again, very textbook rush from Achilles. It's kind of the meta at the moment is to just spam infantry and run at your opponent. Of course, that's not the only viable tactic, but infantry spams are kind of the meta, and I think this was strictly not really out-microing his opponent, but just having a better composition than his opponent, and literally ran at him, surrounded him, did a very good job getting around the flanks, getting some rear charges off with the heavy horse, and Rush4in kind of just got overwhelmed in that engagement. But very good game. Really well done by Achilles, and Rush4in. I am sorry, my friend, but you are now out of the tournament, so good job in your first round. Sorry you didn't make it any further, but end of the road for you, my friend. But really good game to both players. I enjoyed it, and we got more matches coming to you soon, guys. Lots and lots of games still left in this tournament, so I'll talk to you all later. Any Pride, signing out.